Hello again. Have you been to see the walkthrough of this album yet? As I said in the walkthrough, it was exactly the same as the others, with pockets, flaps which opened, some hinged pockets, a little waterfall effect, and more pockets at the end. But for those of you who have seen it, it's something you've been asking for quite a while. How to add a twist and pop into our small keepsake albums. So finally, here we go. Here's an album I started way back. In fact, this was one of my first ones, which I was just experimenting different things on and never got round to finishing it because it was just the one I was testing things out on. So here I've got one of the hinged pockets. So not pockets, hinged pages. So if you want to see how I did this, go back to my tutorials on how to make the entire book with the 4 different pages. But basically, I took the inside decorative die, put the score line up against the edge of the cutting edge, but didn't cross it, just like you'd make a card blank, so that it hinges. Now in this one, it went upwards, but in this one, we're going to go side to side instead, just to show you can go both ways. So here's the mechanism we're going to be making. This one doesn't actually fit in, it crossed over. So I'm going to show you how I tackled that. And it'll open this time because we're sticking it this way, upwards. Okay. As I said, it works the other way as well. So what you're going to need is 2 pieces of cardstock. Now this is lightweight. I think it's 160 GSM, the stuff I print on. And this is just one of the scrap bits left from one of the pages. And this one measures 9 by 2¼ inches. And then I've got another piece, just plain. You could use your pattern again, I did on this one, but you don't have to. Again, not too thick, otherwise it adds a lot of bulk to your page and your page just won't shut properly. So this was 9 by 2¼ Now this one is just slightly shorter by 9 by 2 inches. Okay. I've also got my scoreboard. You don't need this. If you've got a ruler, just use that instead. Okay, so we're going to take our mechanism piece, the bit which does the twist, which is the 2-inch one, and first of all I'm going to put it up here and I'm going to score at 1 inches. So basically I've just folded it, I scored it in half and folded it in half. Okay, so it's 2 inches, score at 1. Now I'm going to put the long edge up against the top. And I'm not going to score this time, I'm just going to mark. And I'm going to mark it at 3½ inches. Just a little notch. You could use a pencil here if you wanted. And 5½. I'm going to flip it over. And again, 3½ and 5½. Now I'm going to go to the edge of my scoreboard and I'm going to join these as an X. So I'm going to take the 3½ on the top and I'm just going to line it up with the last channel. And now I'm going to slide this until the notch, the mark I made on the 5½ inches on the bottom is lining up. And I'm just going to cross. Flip it round and do the same. So now I've just joined those score lines and made a cross. So I'm going to fold that towards me. Fold these both ways. Just train the cardstock to go in both directions. It'll help later on. Okay, right. So I'm going to go to my decorative piece now. And basically I'm going to make a W shape. So I want to cut my 9 inches, not cut it, score it, in quarters. So that's 2 1/4, 4 1/2, and 6 3/4. Now in my original mechanism I thought, yeah, great, it fits. But when I actually put it in, I found it overhang the page a bit. So if we go back to this one, what you'll notice is I used a corner rounder. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to take my, I think it's a 7mm one. And so this will now just make it so that it doesn't overlap here. If it doesn't bother you, don't worry, but I think it's just nice that it's all hidden away. So I've done those 2 bits. This is why you don't want thick cardstock, because now we're going to fold in half. Oh, I didn't push it in. Oh, 7mm, that's right. I'm going to push it in. I'm going to corner the middle. Okay. So now I'm going to fold this edge, and again round off. Oh, didn't go quite far enough in. And that side. And again in here. So now we've got 4 squares with nice corners cut out. Okay. So now we've got our mechanism and we've got our main panel. Let's move the book out the way. So let's have a look at the original one. What we're aiming to get is a corner with 2 pieces down. So it's going to go, hopefully, if you have it so it's a valley, push up your cross, it'll just fold together nicely. Okay, so I'm just going to score this down. And that's your mechanism. So one more time, a valley, so you've got your V shape, and just pop your corner, your cross up, and it'll come together like that. Okay, so I'm going to open it up again, and we're going to attach our top bits on. So to do this, I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to mark this halfway point with a pencil, and again on the bottom. Okay, so when I line this up, I'm going to fold this side and I'm going to draw a pencil line. Hold it all in place and do the same the other side. Okay, now we're going to be working in opposite corners. So I'm going to put some adhesive on my top left and bottom right. So this tape is just going to hold in position for now. I'm going to add some glue later just to make it more permanent. Okay. You can leave these on, but I take them off purely to lessen the bulk. So from my 1/2 inch score line, I'm going to cut up to that pencil line. And again, top right, so I'm going bottom left. Now it doesn't matter which way round you do this, as long as you're working in opposite corners. Okay. So now, this is going to be our W. So what we're going to do, take off the tape. Now make sure you don't cross that 1/4 of the way across line. Otherwise, this bit is going to be stuck down and it's not going to pop then. It's just going to stay like that. But what we want is that pop. So I'm going to take my glue down to that score line. Don't cross that one. And now I'm going to tape it onto the back. Okay. Now because I did do the corner rounders, I should have, but I forgot, corner rounded this as well. I'm just going to take off the corner. There we are. So we've done our top bit. Now we're going to do the same in our bottom corner. So again, opposite corners, and I'm going to line this up. So now it's all done. What you're going to want to do is bring this W together and just train your card to bring those two triangles together. I'll just keep scoring it like that. Okay, so I started like that, just like we did before. We want to push those two together and bring the triangle up. Again, I'm going to take my scoring tool and just burnish it down. And that's it. Now it's just a case of putting it into our book. So I'm going to turn my book on the side just so I'm working a bit easier. Now, this is where we did our cross. There's quite a bit of bulk there. So what I'm going to do, just a tiny, tiny, tiny snip. Just get rid of that bulk on the tip. Again, just to help it stick for now, I'm going to do my tape. But for strength, I'm going to add my glue. And I'm going to stick it towards the score line. Now make sure you don't go right up to it. Just a hair's breadth away from the score line. Okay, because we took the tip away. So now I'm going to add some tape to the top of my triangle. Add the glue. I'm just going to hold it back on itself. And hopefully that tape is stuck. I'd wait for it to dry a bit more usually. And just train your card the first couple of times. Stick that triangle back down. And there we have it. You now have a pop-up. Oh, the glue hasn't dried. It will be better, honest, once it's dried. There we are. Your pop-up element. So it folds and twists into your page, and it still hasn't dried, so I'm just going to hold it. There. Hope that made sense. Give it a go and let me know. Thanks again for watching.